Sooners of Oklahoma at 12-0 and still looking for respect nationwide.
What is going on, Sooner Nation? Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Barry and Mack Show. As always, myself, Barry, personal trainer, sports performance coach out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and alongside me, former Sooner wide receiver, 2000 national champ, Mr. Damian Mackey. How are we doing on this Black Friday, D Mac?
What's going on, partner in crime? Doing well, man. Been working all day, having some pretty interesting meetings with different individuals. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and do a shameless plug here, guys. I just purchased part ownership of this amazing brand. As you guys can see, that's Yashua. If you know, you know. Excited to just be expanding and growing and doing certain things that uh you want to live life on your own terms and do things that you want to do. And so I love doing this with you. We've been able to turn this into a passion project that actually puts a few dollars in our pockets. Salute to you and those who take good care of us. And I'm doing the same in other aspects. So leveraging becoming a business owner and entrepreneur to open other streams of doing things that I've always had my heart set on doing without having to do all the work. Right. I am not the brains or the butter behind this. I'm a strategist and a financial backing. So cool beans to be doing this. It's something that's very near and dear to me. I don't publicize it a lot, but I was born and raised in this way. And so anyway, on this Good Friday, Oklahoma State lost. Jinty was out there balling for Boise State. Travis Hunter was out there balling for Colorado. And I don't wear this very often, but I had to put on that we're number one ring. You know what I'm saying? That's the official daddy. We need another one of those. It's about time to get another one. So good to be on, brother. Let's rock and roll.
Absolutely, man. And right off the top, today got some good football going on. Man, Colorado, if they don't take that loss, that recent one, man,
KU.
Boy. KU. I was trying to remember. If they don't take that loss to KU, they're probably in the thick of the playoff hunt because of the conference championship and how they've done in that regard. But it's Hunter and it's Genty, right, for the Heisman, and then everybody else. I don't think anybody else is even in the ballpark. I think it's going to come down to, do they wait the success of a running back doing something that really hasn't been seen since a Barry Sanders in terms of yardage? To tell me a guy who's done it the way he's done it, being the primary focal point of the offense. It wasn't like when AD ran for 2,000 and they had weapons all over the field and there was a lot of carries and ball handling to go around. You had Mark Clayton on that team. You had Mark Bradley on that team. You had trying to think who else off the top. Travis Wilson on that team. Loaded.
Jason
right?
White.
It's not that
The biggest issue was Jason White. That's what the biggest issue was.
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
Yeah. So the fact that you're doing that not that they don't have skill players at other spots, but you're the focal point every time you line the ball up, and he's still taking care of business. But Hunter is doing something that hasn't been seen since Dion, really. I mean, since players like him, Charles,
Seawood.
man, yeah,
Seawood,
Woodson,
Seawood and Champ Bailey, I'd say would be the last two big time guys.
Yeah, but to do it at an elite level, this is what Dion said about Hunter. And sorry, guys, no one's saying a Colorado show, but he was asked about Hunter playing both sides of the ball, and what he brought up was, people were saying, is that too many snaps, the conditioning side, right? Are you worried that putting him over here will hamper his production over here? And he said, if your best player, he said, leaving your best player on whatever side of the ball off the field is always a mistake. If you have a player who is the best receiver when you line him up at a receiver spot, and he's their best receiver, but is also their best DB, if he can handle it, man, let him handle it. So I think Hunter's probably going to win it if I had to bet, I think Boise State, just location, them being Boise State, not being Colorado with Dion and the lights and all the show that goes with that. I think it's going to be an uphill battle. But man, I think those two are going to run away with the award. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
I feel the same way. If I mean, listen, the top three quarterbacks are probably Cam Ward out of Miami, who's a damn good player. You got to go with Dylan. He's the number one quarterback on the number one team, and he's made
Hmm.
plays when he needs to. And then who I said was the best quarterback since August. Watching him last year when a lot of people had negative things to say about his school and their record and what was happening. Sorry, guys, Shadur Sanders is a baller. He throws the
Killer.
best ball in college football. He's not a runner, but he's athletic enough to do what he needs to do to get out of traffic. He's kind of like a Patrick Mahomes, where Patrick just looks weird running with it, but he always runs enough to do what he needs to
Yeah.
do.
I would say
But
almost
Shadur,
like a Tua in terms of like just
better athlete than
the
Tua. Better athlete.
I
Tua is
agreed.
Tua is
Yeah.
not fluid. Tua is kind of stuck,
Hmm.
kind of stiff. Patrick and Patrick kind of has a little wiggle when he needs to. He can go
With a
30
little
on you
wiggle.
if you
Yeah.
but no,
Yeah.
to see those two, Travis and Gene T, man. And I saw Gene T when they play. I want to say that when they played Oregon is when Gene T has
Yep.
games where he's gone against top shelf competition and whoop they head. And so I like
100%.
both. I'm a big Barry Sanders fan, and I don't throw that name out very nicely for other folk. And Gene T's a guy. I watched their game today. In fact, I missed most of the Colorado game watching the Boise boys was playing Oregon State, and Gene T was just two calibers better than everybody else on the field. When he
Yeah.
was involved in the play versus any other play, it was just really just fun to see. And of course, I miss Travis, who apparently had 3 touchdowns and a couple PBUs and some
Insane.
faithful.
That's what I was
Yeah,
watching. Yeah, it was
they said he had
21-0, man, and it was like good night Oklahoma State. So, season's over, y'all. Yeah, man, really good stuff. I think the Heisman will be interesting to watch just because it's two non-quarterbacks for the first time in the running in a while, in terms of just not knowing who's going to take it home, but the quarterbacks all being a rung below is going to make it very, very interesting. But what you guys came here to see, as I would imagine, is the OU versus LSU preview. And it hasn't been very often, DMAC, that we are doing the preview coming off of a win. So there's a lot more hopefulness amongst Sooner Nation. Sooner Nation has seen the most recent episode of Oklahoma football, that is the 2024 version. And this one looked a lot better. We talked about it on the post game pod. They ran the ball with ferocity. X Rob looked like a dude. The offensive line played their best game, especially run blocking. And on the rewatch, they did a pretty good job pass blocking too when they needed to pass block. That there was not a whole lot of misses. They still aren't that elite level O line that you want to see at Oklahoma, but man, they did perform, and they put on a show against an Alabama team that I've seen a lot of debate. I know Josh Pate mentioned this, and I want to touch before we go on to OU LSU. Josh Pate brought up that, Alabama goes as Milroe goes. He said that Milroe in every game has really held Alabama back, that they've lost. They've lost the 3 games this year, and he really indicted Milroe more than he did the Oklahoma defense. And I will say this, even Vanderbilt, who beat them, Milroe didn't have his best game, but he wasn't the reason that they lost that game. They still put up 35 points, still had a chance to win the game late. It was Alabama's defense more so than anything that kept them from getting the W. But Alabama still has more blue chip, top rated guys than any other team in the country. They still, according to the composite rankings that put that stuff together, they are loaded with talent. So, what do you say, DMAC, to the folks who, maybe poo-poo this win for Oklahoma, saying that Milroe just had a bad game? If the situation were flipped and he played a better game, that OU probably doesn't come out with the victory. What are your thoughts hearing that?
Probablys and maybes and trying tos are for losers. You know what I'm saying? The what if community, revisionist theory, all that stuff is for losers. And we are a very good example of that a lot of this season, right? We had a lot of games where we said if we didn't piss down our leg, if we didn't have unforced turnovers, right? Like they didn't do nothing. We kind of gave it to them. We could have, we should have. Guess what? We lost those games. This game has some keys that I want to make sure people don't misinterpret and or gloss over. Number one, those guys have not had a game where they haven't scored a touchdown since 2015. That's not a like accident, right? You got to get physically dominated for 60 minutes to not score a touchdown. Now there's a couple of obviously the gray question, right? The gray play, I guess
Oh my
we'll
god.
call it the gray play. By the way, you know me, Barry. I have
Oh yeah.
I have friends who are with God, anyway, the ex coach at Cedar Hill is now the head coach at Texas Tech. Texas Tech ran a play very similar to what Alabama ran formation wise. And that's why I said I concede that the rule doesn't say that. But I will say this. The coach at Texas Tech said, I told the refs pregame and I ran the play the first time in a running play first so that the refs could see the formation
Mm,
and know that what we were doing. And then the next play, they ran a pass and they scored a touchdown. So what it tells me is the play is legal. What Alabama did is legal. However, you should communicate and have a plan in place for running a play like that just because it's so different than your traditional play. And so I can see that. I say, yep, that makes a ton of sense. So I don't think there's a rule that says you can't. In fact, the Texas Tech game says otherwise. If those of you who are wondering if you're like me, Texas Tech versus Baylor, first quarter, a minute and 48 seconds left in the first quarter, you'll literally see on consecutive plays, Texas Tech runs a formation very similar to what Bama ran. The very first time they run a running play, which I don't think there's any question, 7 on the line of scrimmage. The next play, they run a pass off of it. And on that play, they do score a touchdown. So I say, hey,
yeah.
there it is, right? I concede. I apologize. Nobody's perfect, and I damn sure don't got the biggest ego in the room.
Yeah.
But anyway, play notwithstanding, right? Let's give them the play. We still whooped that ass for 60 minutes. We still dominated third down. We still dominated when we were on third down. The sign of a team that is the more physical team is the team that stops the run and the team that runs when they want to. And that we did
Yeah.
both spades. It was spades all night. If Tatum doesn't fumble, it's even more. If Bauer Sharp can turn and rotate his hips, it's even more. So
Buddy.
we had
Yeah.
some ifs too. We got a whole bunch of ifs. We could have we if we did a couple other things, we could have put 40 on you guys. So um Alabama's got to hold that L, just like we got to hold this season as a season that's a subpar season for us. Whoever Josh Pate or whoever these individuals are who are making excuses, those are for losers. All right. Some people make excuses, other people find solutions. And I think that's a good segue into saying going into LSU, we can create a narrative. We can create optics around our team trending the right direction and really going on a win streak, right? What did it look like if
Yeah.
we as Sooners can go 2 games that most people, I would say probably everybody thought we'd lose at least one. Well, now we have the
Split them.
opportunity
Yeah.
to win both. I would even say it would take a sunshine pumper to say we were going to split them just because how Bama dominated LSU and how dynamic LSU has been on offense different times this season and how anemic
Mhm.
we've been on offense at different times this season, right? So having addressed Alabama, now going to face LSU with an entrenched identity. We talked about a difference maker on offense with X Rob. What a game looks like where Jackson doesn't shoot himself in the foot again, right? Let's just process this, Barry. Tennessee is in the playoff. Tennessee's in the playoff.
Yeah.
I think we both admitted that if Jackson doesn't literally self-sabotage the Tennessee game, and I hate to say that because it seems like an exaggeration, but everyone knows how
But
polarizing
it's
his
not
turnovers
though,
were.
man.
Right.
It was
His
so bad
turnovers,
and they were so poorly
this they're
timed.
they're polarizing plays. What does this team do in a game like that? We probably weren't the most athletic team, but our defense is showing it's got moxie. Our defense in the Missouri game, right? If we just don't have
Buddy.
unforced turnovers, right? We fumble on a play where we should get the ball out. He fumbles on a QB run after picking up a first down early in the game, right? These are play, or you just miss a wide open receiver. He's wide open and we just miss him. It lets you kind of see how the pendulum kind of swings back to the middle. And,
Yeah.
maybe we were an 8-14 this year. You know, we'll have an opportunity to see if we can close the regular season out 7-5. And then obviously going into bowl season, improving our bowl opponent.
Which, and I will say this as we dip into the LSU game. I mean, 7-5 is not what the fans expected, but given the turmoil this year, given what has happened, I mean, that's almost a best case scenario at this point with how the season has gone. Coming out 7-5, possibly having a chance to win the bowl game, right? I mean, OU is, and if OU puts up 8 wins this year, I know we're talking hypothetical. They got to go get this win against LSU, and it is going to be hard. But if OU puts up 8 wins this season, I think the fans go into next year. If OU can bring an offense back to get coupled with this defense, that I know there's been games where it's felt a little suspect on the defensive side of the ball. But as we've talked about on this show, DMAC, the guys who are going to be the best safeties, the guys who are going to be the best DBs are those young guys sitting on the bench right now who have been very well evaluated, who every time they come in and play, it looks different than the guys who are playing ahead of them, who just have the seniority, the experience, the strength, speed, size, all of the things that go along with being a upperclassman. Some guys, 5 and 6 years in, who should be, second year in the NFL if they were that level of player. But it kind of goes without saying that 8 wins would be big time for this team with where they're at. It would be a huge finish. OU's going to Death Valley though, and they're going to be wearing. It'll be interesting. Road jersey or home jerseys on the road will be a funky looking thing. So I think that might take a second to get used to. I imagine that's what they're going to do. I know sometimes teams have discussed it with LSU, and LSU has done like the purple at home, and the other teams rock the road unis. So just kind of depends. But I would imagine LSU goes in the traditional home whites, and OU does the red. If anybody knows in the comments, let us know if something's already been set. I imagine it has. But LSU's got a good quarterback. Yeah, LSU's got a good quarterback in Nussmeier. They are a 7-win team this year. They just recently had the win over Vanderbilt. But previous to that, I want to go back to some of these losses. They lost to A&M, where they controlled the game the entire first half. A&M just had a spectacular second half of the game. You take the loss to Alabama. Alabama thoroughly dominated them from start to finish. The way OU dominated Alabama is the way Alabama dominated LSU. If you go back and watch the game, LSU could get nothing accomplished. I would say if OU has a few more explosive guys like Orion Williams, and some of the other guys catching passes if OU has more light guys like that, they probably put up similar points on Alabama. And then they have the loss to Florida, I mean, don't look now. I don't know what Napier's future looks like up there, but that was not Florida's not a fluke at this point. They seem to have turned the corner a little bit on some things, and they kind of beat LSU.
Quarterback.
Yeah, the quarterback play has been great. Yep. It's been excellent stuff. So LSU comes into this game a little bit limpy, right? They do have the win against Vanderbilt. They won by a score, but they're a 6-point favorite, DMAC. And I think probably if it's in Norman, maybe there's still a 1 or 2 point favorite, I would imagine, or it's almost a little bit of a push. I think it's a little closer. I don't think any more than 3 for sure. Just because of how you feel this Oklahoma defense could go out and perform. You do have the underlying narrative of Caden Durham, who's their leading rusher this year with 600 yards. Was an interesting recruiting battle, back a year ago with him and Tatum and what all happened there. I'm sure D-Mac's got a couple stories. There's some relationships there. So if you guys haven't heard, go back, listen to some of the older shows and maybe get some context in that. But let's talk about the OU defense, DMAC, that they played really well against Alabama. Best game of the year against the best talent they had faced that year on the offensive side of the ball. So Stutzman has a great game. He's a Butkus finalist. Let's not bury that. That's pretty damn impressive coming from where he was, coming into the Lincoln regime, getting brought in, having that line in the sand that BV sort of helped him draw of like, hey, who do you want to be as a player? And BV challenged him, and you can tell when you look on the defensive side of the ball, a perfect play is like the Eli Bowen play, Stutzman's play early on. That entire side of the ball watches film. They are prepared. They know what is coming, and in that Alabama game, they were more than prepared. And we'll get into some of those specifics, but don't want to bury Stutzman's success and what he's done this year. But when you look at OU going on the road on defense, you got a quarterback in Nussmeier who has had a few games where he's kind of crapped the bed a little bit, the proverbially, but he's an accurate quarterback. He can throw almost everything it is that you need to be able to throw. He has a pretty solid deep ball. He gets the ball out quick on quick game, and LSU has some athletes. You got a Durham who's going to put up, 22 miles an hour out in the open field. He can really kick it and put that foot on the gas. What do you expect, and what do you think this Sooner defense needs to get accomplished going into this one against LSU?
Yeah, a couple of things. I saw the truth said that he hit the nail on the head. Nussmeier is really good in intermediate routes. Their receivers are really good at those deeper 16, 18-yard in cuts, and then 1v1 on the outside, playing outside the numbers, putting you in a matchup where they're going to try to big body you. And being as they're taller receivers and we've got shorter, younger DBs, I anticipate they are going to try to create matchups where hash markers, sometimes even numbers to sidelines, you've got a 1v1 matchup, even though the game is 11v11. So on defense, it's really important. If we stay 4 down and bring 4, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. I imagine we're going to line up 30 front, put some of our backers to a 2-point stand. I imagine we're going to do some 40 front with 30 and 32 um, RMT, and let me start saying names right. RMT and Ford both standing up, and then bringing a backer through the A or B gap to overload the side. Because if we give Nussmeier time and he gets into rhythm, we could be in trouble. If you put him in compromising situations and he's got to move off the spot, he's a guy who does not want to move off the spot. If anything, he wants to kind of drift to his left. If he can drift to his left, he's still a pretty decent thrower. But if you make him move to his right, he's either going to throw the ball, or he's going to run it. He's either going to run the ball or he's going to throw it away. He does not trust running to his right, trying to throw the football. And so just be interested to see how we address that, how we attack that. Are we going to line up in a zero front where we have a true nose, or are we going to line up in 2 eyes where we put pressure on both guards? That way the center has to take on any type of blitz that comes. Be paying close attention to that. And then also I would have to say, I would even just say data and my own eyeballs, the backers are doing better in terms of covering up the second level. And so seeing,
Mm,
and really the best is I'm just telling you, Kip could play cheetah. If we had another really, really, really good backer, Kip could play cheetah. Kip carries extremely well. He identifies number 2 crossing the middle, and he'll turn and run with it. He'll sink into the hole. He naturally has that sense. Um, and Stutz is a guy who's done it enough. He knows when and how to do it well, right? Stutz is a guy who can find out where the window is and jump into it, get a hand in it. Last year, he was picking some of those. This year, Kip is picking some of those, right? And so both of those guys, Barry, I wouldn't be surprised if they get 75% of the shares of snaps going into this game, just because you can't afford to have a second level mental bust. You can't afford to have a second level like an inexperienced, naive individual who falls for stepping up to something on the first level and they throw it behind you. And so
yeah.
um, the other thing is the X factor of Durham. Caden Durham should be a Sooner.
Oh man.
His mom and I went to school together. His dad coached with a bunch of my friends. They're from Moore. Caden's a kid who lived there half his life, more than half his life through high school.
Yep.
Got to dunk, and of course, wanted to be a Sooner, but he also wanted to be fond too, and I think he deserved it. The kid was a
Oh
national recruit,
man.
so it's not like he was asking for something he didn't deserve. But obviously, he's not on our team, and his mom, the family rocks LSU hard now, and I don't complain. I get it, right? Their kid's there. He loves it there. He's having a phenomenal freshman year there. We got to contain him. You get him on the edge, forget about it. He. By the way, he was like that in high school. If he gets on the edge, it's over. And I'm not necessarily saying he's going to run away from everybody. College football, he hasn't just burned everybody every Saturday, but he's extremely dangerous. Just he knows how to run outside the hash marks and really be put pressure on you horizontally before he sticks the foot in the ground and then can get up the field. From a defensive standpoint, obviously, if RMT and Ford can put pressure on their tackles, that's a good thing. And by the way, their offensive line coach is a personal friend and ex Sooner, Brad Davis. I'm going to talk some shit to him this upcoming week, or I guess
Hey
they play
now.
tomorrow. So I got to send him a text today,
Yeah.
don't I? It's the game's tomorrow.
Yeah. Games tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah.
Weird week.
Hot,
Weird week.
yeah, totally. Hot Sauce is their O line coach. We got to put pressure on the tackles.
Yep.
It's really going to be important for us, that second level route. And then I'd say last but not least, outside of Caden and what he's going to be able to do with the running the football, because they're going to want to run the football. They're going to test us. I've watched 5 or 6 of their games. Their first game I watched outside of the SC game for week 1, right? Or I think it was week 0. Week 0, LSU played SC. Nussmeyer
Yeah.
against Link, and that game went back and forth. And I think Link won that game. I think USC
Yep.
won that
Yep.
game.
That was a bad
Um,
loss
that
for LSU to
eh,
open the
tight
year.
game, tight game. They know both teams, but when they played South Carolina, remember we were potting. It was like week 2 or something. I said Barry, South Carolina is going to be a pro, because I literally saw South Carolina beat them up until their quarterback got hurt, and then
Yeah.
LSU came back. But LSU is going to test you 3 or 4 times deep. They're gonna go 3v1. They're going to be trips to one side of the formation, one receiver on the other side. They're going to try to get the DB they want. They're going to dial up either a fade or a back shoulder fade, and they're going to throw that. I wouldn't necessarily say once a quarter, but 3 or 4 times a game. And I don't remember the receiver's name. They got a first round guy. They got a guy who's a
Yeah. I was
fringe
trying to remember
first
his
round
name.
draft pick.
I'll
Yep,
tell
he's the
you.
guy when Neighbors got hurt last year for a
Yep.
while, like 3 or 4 games. He stepped into that role, and then they were like 3 deep at the end of the season when all the receivers were healthy. So it's a challenge. Here's the thing I will say about LSU: they are an emotional team. If you slap LSU, they're gonna try to slap you back.
Kyron
But if
Lacey.
yep, Lacey, you
Yep.
slap
Yep.
their ass again, you slap them again the second time, they might fold the tent. They don't like to be hit that
Yeah.
much. They don't like it. They're gonna try to bully you. But if you bully them back, if our defense bows up, and we'll talk about offense next, and Jackson takes care of the ball, that's a game where they might concede. And so I think that's something that we have to our advantage that we'll speak to in a little more detail.
Yeah, I think it probably goes without saying this has been a tough coaching year for Brian Kelly and the LSU fans. If you were listening to their side, their concern is something you've been concerned with OU as well. But I think given the expectations, LSU is not a newcomer to the conference. But one of the concerns of their fan base is LSU's propensity to give up on games when they
Yep.
start getting hit. They have a there are some fans who would go as far as to say throw out the proverbial Kelly has lost the locker room type comments, right? There's a lot of fans out there where those are the rumblings that you're seeing on the message board. So what that tells you, if you're Oklahoma, if you are able to go out there and somehow strike first, whether it's defensively, offensively, big play on special teams would be great in a game like this, as long as OU doesn't wash that out, turning the ball over. I think OU is going to have a chance, just like against Alabama. I think it's fair to say, if we're rating this Sooner team this year, that it has felt far more like an issue of just being organized and having a direct plan of attack when it comes to how they play offensively. And that's not to say that they they do have talent. Losing 5 top receivers is certainly not going to help you. That was a massive, massive blow and has contributed to the lack of success. But ever since Finley has taken over and there has been a concerted effort to move in one solid, cohesive direction, this Sooner team has looked a lot better. The turnovers have been, even in the Missouri game, it was just untimely, but the turnovers have been a little better. The Alabama game, OU really showed that what they're capable of being able to do on the offensive side of the ball. As many have mentioned in here, though, you got to know LSU is going to come out there with some of those elite guys on defense and put 8 in the box, right? Some of their fan base actually feels that the defense, take away the Alabama game, has played better at times since not having um, Harold Perkins on the team. They feel like the defense has a little bit more of a balanced attack, that they're not relying on him so heavily, that the blitz packages are a little more shifted up, that they do more things, and that's just what's coming from the LSU fan side. But DMAC, offensively, the X Rob has to be your primary lead back in this one. We'll see about Javonte Barnes and his availability, but at this point, even if he is available and ready to come back, it shouldn't matter. I think Xavier Robinson and the explosives that he had against Alabama, not just the consistency in the yards per carry, but being able to break off some big runs, being able to score off of those big runs on a play that wasn't perfect. I went and highlighted the play. If you guys aren't over on OU Insider, go over to OU Insider, grab yourself a membership. DMAC with his 10 thoughts. I got my zooming in over there that I'm doing. But the play where X Rob scores the touchdown, where he goes on the outside and gets over the pylon, nearly fumbles the ball, but absolutely not a fumble. What he does on that play, guys, is just such natural runner stuff, right? He starts outside and he starts to get the corner, DMAC, at one angle, but then feels where that defense is and the angle they have on him. So he shifts his direction just a little bit. It's subtle, right? And then he feels the angle that the next defender has on him. He feels it a little bit. He changes that angle ever so slightly. And he knows, based on his ability, to jump, he's doing these micro calculations all in his head. He knows that if he can get to the certain point, get to that 3-yard line and plant that left foot, he's going to have a chance to turn that sucker upfield and get into the end zone. And these are just natural things that great running backs do. They have a feel for the space where they're at, what they need to do to get in the end zone. Your guys like Mixon and P. Ryan had it, and he showcases it on that play. So it's stuff like that that makes me go, there's no other choice of who your lead back is and has to be going forward for the rest of the year. But with LSU likely putting 8 in the box, DMAC, trying to stop that, what does OU's plan now have to be, as they probably need to pivot or pull a counter move here?
You ready? You ready for this?
Ready.
My opinion. This is my opinion. I don't think we'll be able to win the game running the football. Now, that said, we need to run the football in order to win the game. I know that sounds oxymoronic, but I don't think we're going to be able to have 70 total passing yards on Saturday and expect to have won that game in Death Valley. I just don't think that that's possible. However, right, this is a chess match. This is not checker. This is not a checkerboard. And so there are some things that are going to be working against us. There's some things that are going to be working to our advantage. I think the number one thing, and Barry, I'm going to pay close attention to it. We'll keep tick marks. I imagine we probably will post pod tomorrow night, right, or after the game, or early Sunday morning, either or. I'll be interested to see, and this is just me getting a feel for Joe John, how many first down action throws we make. I have a feeling that on first down, heavy box, run formation, I'm talking about like 21 personnel or 12 personnel, like 2 backs and 1 tight end, or 2 tight ends, 1 back. I'll be interested to see what type of action we run. I'll be interested to see. I feel like this is a game where you can have tight ends running sails and corners, receivers running bench routes and in cuts, where those backers are going to be flying up to stop X Rob, and there should be clean pictures, especially if we're in 12 where we have 2 tight ends, and tight ends can really cup the edge, and linemen can really zone up the A and B gaps. If the linemen can zone those up where they don't have to turn their head, and now you can have, right, because when linemen have to man up, they have to turn with the person that they're with, and that's how you can get loopers. But if you can zone it up and keep your eyes forward and keep your hands up, right, if we get those tight ends to cup the actual pocket, and we can stay in more zone as an offensive scheme, we should be able to see some tight ends leak, number 2 receivers, right, running right behind the backers, things of that nature. Jackson's got to be able to hit it. He's got to be able to execute that. If we can hit that, we're going to have success running the ball because they're going to have to get out of a 42 or a 52 probably. I bet they're going to be in some four down with a backer up and then that safety's backside C like we did Bama. I bet we'll see a lot of what
Mm-hmm.
we did to Bama. You cover up everybody except one lineman. You have the overhang in who can come into the box and that backside safety's up to 7. That's a strong box and everybody feels it, but you can still kind of protect against the pass versus a true 53 or something like that, right? Where you got 8 true guys in the box. That's going to be a more difficult scheme to run.
Yeah.
Offensively, somebody's got to make a play. You think about the Auburn game, Hester makes the play, right? You think about the
Mm.
main game, Hester makes the play with Jackson again. I think Hester and Hawk make the play on the go route against Auburn. Hester and Jackson against Maine. Think about Mizzou. None of those guys make a play. We're going to need a receiver to go make a big play. They're going to have to be someone in coverage. And it's funny, right? Because they've made the play in some respects. We just haven't been able to connect on the pass. Jackson's going to have to hit the mark. He's going to have to hit the mark. We can't have one of those plays that nobody thinks about because it's the second quarter and it's 2nd and 4 and we're on our own 39-yard line with a little momentum and we miss the touchdown, but then we go on and score a field goal, and then we end up losing by 2. Nobody goes back to that play. That play is very important. That play we have to hit it when the opportunity comes. And so, again, when you run the ball like we did, it's very, very, very noticeable on film. Guys, they went to 8 in the box. The thing is, we ran a scheme they hadn't seen us run. A lot of people say, "Hey, it was very reminiscent of Vanderbilt." Maybe it was. I haven't really diagnosed their scheme very thoroughly to see, but I know they run a bunch of QB run, so it makes sense to me. Um, well, LSU has all the stuff we ran Saturday. LSU is going to be prepared for, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be very important for us to make them have to pivot out of the scheme that they have seen us run Saturday. Now, watch. If I ask a very simple question, to me, this is why I think football is so simple, right? So, if they counter our counter, right? Our counter was to execute a lot of QB run and misdirection at the snap of the ball. We ran a ton of
Yeah.
motion. We ran a ton of shuttle screens, right? We're running a running back on this side, the tight end's on this side. The quarterback acts like they're going to pitch to the running back, but they're really pitching to the tight end. And it didn't work a lot, but they had to account for it, right? So now LSU says, okay, they're going to be running all this stuff, smoke and mirrors, right? Running the window dressing at the snap of the ball. You know what the counter to that is? Very
Well,
simple,
what will it be?
quick, very simple, quick game. Can you pass the ball
Mm.
on
Yeah.
timing routes to get them out? Because if their eyeballs are watching to see what we're doing in the run game, then receivers run to the spot, the ball's there. You can expect it if you're the guy. Like that is principles of how we were able to counter. So it'll be interesting to see. Are we going to run action on first down? I think we should run 50% action on first down for
Wow.
real. I absolutely think we show the ball, we pull the ball. We will have backers flying through the A gaps, run blitzing, trying to kill us. And there should be clean windows for tight ends, especially tight ends and backs, because the DBs are going to be pretty tight, but those backers have
Mm-hmm.
dual responsibility. And then I want to see, can we execute on early downs? Right? Maybe some of those first downs are action. Maybe some of those first downs are quick outs, quick slants, quick hitches, just real quick, simple, easy timing routes. Um, it'll be easy to see if they come out, Barry, bump man. I just know you're gonna see me doing this because our like if they if they come out bump man, they're basically saying put yours on the table. We're putting ours on the table. We're gonna say who has bigger, hairier gorilla nuts. And because what that's going to do, it's going to kill all of the fluffy stuff, right? It's going to be one
Mm-hmm.
dude versus one dude win the game. And again, people don't know what I'm talking about. Go watch the second half of the Georgia game 2017. We dominate the first half.
Yeah.
Go watch the second half. The entire second half, they say, screw all the daffodils, rainbows, and unicorns. We're tougher SOBs than you guys are. Hey, guys, man v man, D them up. One guy on our team was able to win his match consistently. Granted, Hollywood got hurt, but one guy, CD Lamb, and of course, he's dominating in the NFL. Everybody else was nullified. They were literally
Yeah.
neutralized once they went to that defensive setting, and so it'll be interesting to see if LSU tries to deploy that.
Yeah. I will say this, just maybe to pump a little bit of sunshine on this. a lot of teams have been able to defend OU this year with 3 and 4 down linemen because the run game just hasn't been dominant. They've been able to get pressure off the edge because the linemen have not been afraid of run game. They've not been afraid of the shovel pass. As you mentioned, I had forgotten. You said when South Carolina was doing all that they were doing, where was the sprint draw? Where was the shovel pass? Where was all of those things that against Alabama, who does try to play an aggressive style of defense as well, who has guys on the defensive side of the ball? OU did those things. So that was a part of why Jackson, when he did go throw and when they did go off of action, he had a cleaner pocket, right? All of it matters. None of it is in a vacuum. But to pump some sunshine, this is the first game where OU has put something elite, or at least in the territory of elite, on film to force the other team to adjust, right? To force the other team to say, this is what you did well against very good competition. We're going to have to go into this game with that in mind. That is now how you can start to open up the offense, and maybe some of those gaps, some of those windows that weren't there in the past game, maybe they are there in this game. Maybe some of those throws that were real snug for Jackson and he felt a lot of pressure, maybe the system with the true RPO and now having a little bit of room to operate, maybe that does open things up. Maybe that creates a situation for Jackson where the pressure is off, right? And then there's also just the psychological effect of he feels like a winner now, right? Jackson, his entire career, in every game that he has started, he is either skirted by the skin of his teeth or he has lost. And I think there has to be some type of psychological aspect to just winning the fudging game,
That was
right?
cruel, bro. That was cruel.
It's the truth. It's the truth, man. He has won these games by the nut skin of margins, man. Like just the gorilla nut skin of
Whoa,
margins
whoa.
have
We're not
these
gonna make
games
gorilla
been
nuts.
won.
Gorilla nuts is not everything, bro. we are not. We are not gonna water. We are not gonna do that. Everything is not.
That's hilarious.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Paper thin, paper thin.
What are we even talking about? Say, come
All
on,
right,
man.
so
Come on, man.
either way, oh my gosh, Jackson's had a tough time, and
Yeah.
you go into this game now having had that psychological, I wouldn't call it an advantage, but now he's experienced winning. He's experienced doing it against a big time opponent, and he's played okay in some road games. Obviously, in Missouri, he had some moments, right, that weren't so good. He had some moments that were pretty solid. So it just goes back to, can he take care of the ball? I'll ask, when it comes to OU's offense and trying to trying not to end up playing catch up in this one, which I think is the ultimate fear that fans have, is LSU goes up 10, goes up 14, and then OU is just chasing points all day. Is there a specific strategy that you think gets deployed in terms of how hard OU wants to attack this one, where they don't allow this game to get away from them? If you were scripting up plays, is really what I'm getting at.
Yep.
If you were scripting up a perfect scenario, well, what would that look like for you for a game like this on the road, crazy crowd, right? It does depend on who gets the ball first, but when OU's offense out there, that place is going to be rocking. How, if you're the OC right now, DMAC, and you're in Finley's spot, what are you scripting up to try and get Jackson off to a good start in this game?
So a couple things. Number one, if I'm the OC, I want us to defer to the second half. I want to put the pressure on them first. I want them to feel the best aspect of our team season long, which is the defense and the expectation if the defense holds. If the defense holds, we go on the field with momentum. If we get the ball first, then we have the pressure on us, right? So just from a strategic standpoint, I would prefer to go on defense, and because if the defense does a great job, we're in good shape. And who would you rather rest your hat on, the offense or the defense as of right now? For me, the answer would squarely be the defense.
Yeah.
Second thing is, like I said, I alluded to it, but I will flat out say I don't think we can expect to have 12 play drives, run the ball down their throat with 8.5 or 7.5 guys in the box, and think we're going to have the same level of success. Part of the reason we had success against Bama is what you're talking about with Jackson. Jackson now knows what it feels like to be a winner, but so do 21 other starters, right? That again, having played the sport, and I remember playing against Nebraska, which by the way, when we played Nebraska in 2000, countrywide, people respect us. We beat Texas 60 a lot to a little. We go into K State and pretty much dominate that game per a block punt. The game's even. We win by 17 or 20 points, but we play Nebraska, the proverbial Nebraska, right? We're talking about the Nebraska with Eric Crouch, the Nebraska with Lindstrom and the Brown brothers, and right, a bunch of dudes, Carlos Polk, right? They got dudes over there. Um, it's just a different game. And if you remember that game, they jump on us 14-0 real quick. And guess what? I don't think I'm quite as good as I thought I was the middle of K State. Does that make sense? I didn't think I could
Hmm.
block as well as I thought I could block when we were beating Texas 49-3 or whatever the hell it was, right? We're
Mm.
now it's like we're playing the big bad wolf. These mother suckers jump down our throat. I don't want to say scared because I would never say I was scared, but I saw the eyes of my teammates. And again, this is one of the reasons why I was grateful for Schmitty, because it was reverting back to the hell we went through with Schmitty that kind of got us off the schneid. We were like, oh hell nah. I ran up that mother sucking hill. I did those squats. We had those 3 p.m. workouts. We had those 6 a.m. workouts. I'm willing to put the work in. And so with that happening, that's what turned the tide. Well,
Mhm.
against LSU, I don't think we're going to be able to put LSU in the position where our guys like, hell yeah, I feel hella good. And LSU's like, holy crap, they're doing something we haven't seen.
Yep.
LSU's going to say, we've seen it. So as the OC, first play of the game, I'm running action. I'm running a double post. I'm running my tight end 12 yards, 3 steps, not even a bang eight, 3 steps and across the formation. I'm running my play side receiver on an in cut, and I'm running the backside split in on a skinny post. That safety, I'm just going to the quarterback, O line. Hold for 2.5 seconds. I'm going to say, Barnes, hey, bro, you might be healthy. We need X Rob in the backfield because we want them to think we're running the football. And I'm going to say, Jackson, I need you to make the play. I want you to look at the tight end and sneak, have one eye on the tight end, one eye on that safety. If that safety takes 1 step forward or his feet are in cement, just throw it over his head. If that safety bails out of there, hit that Z receiver on the in cut 16, 18 yards. Jackson, can you do it? Yep. I would have practiced. I would have showed it to him on film Monday. I would have showed him 3 teams doing it, and I would have showed him a NFL team doing it, a college team doing it. I would have broke out some high school film. Like, son, it's easy enough for a high school quarterback, but look, everybody through the NFL does it, right? I would have practiced it against scrubs on Tuesday. I shouldn't say that
Mm.
against against the scouts on Tuesday. I would have made the old. I
That's
would. I would.
ruthless.
I know. I would make the old. I would run it during blitz pickup. Right. I want to do worst case scenario. So Wednesday practice is generally blitz pickup. That's not a play you want to run into a blitz, right? So in other words, you won't you generally run that play. But what's the worst case? They might blitz. So I'm
Mhm.
running it Wednesday during blitz pickup. On Thursday in shells, I'm running it against the scout again, and I'm saying throw the in cut, throw the fade. We're gonna run it 4 times. I'm gonna tell Jackson, I'm gonna say, Jackson, I want to be 4 for 4. Complete the in cut twice, complete the post twice. In the game, watch the safety. If he doesn't move, throw the post right over his head. And you put Brennan, or you put your fastest guy, if it's Brennan, if it's Dragons, whoever it is, that guy that I choose on Monday is the guy who's running it all week. On Friday, we do walkthrough. I tell coach, hey, coach, cue this up. And when we do it on Friday, I want them to play the fight song, and I'm just putting it in their head. First play of the game, we're going to score. You know why I say do that? Because that's the kind of stuff we used to do. How did you guys get
Mm.
out the gate so fast? How did you guys put pressure on people so fast? Guys, we were being hypnotized Monday. Like, D-Mac, you're going to score. What? You're going to run H angle, 94 H angle. This is what we're going to do. It's going to be, whoever it was, it's going to be, I don't remember the backers for Texas or whatever. But like, that was how we got on the field. I was like, oh man, this is Junior Pee Wee. We are, we ready. Like, that's a play. If we score and we make that play, they're second guessing their themes the rest of the day. Their schemes, their
Yeah.
themes, their blitzes, their all that stuff. They got to rethink that. 'Cause holy crap, they can throw the post. And Jackson hit it on Tuesday. He hit it on Tuesday against the scout team. He hit it on Thursday against the scout team. On Friday, he heard the fight song. Saturday, he's queued up, ready to go. If I'm the OC, that's how I come out the gate. Very, very first play of the game. It's important that we run it on Wednesday for blitz pickup so the offensive line can feel it because blitz pickup is game speed. You try to
Mhm.
replicate a game scenario. The only thing we can't do is cut guys to the ground. But the defense is coming hauling ass. The offense is protecting and doing, scratch whatever you got to do. You might get a bloody
Yeah.
nose during blitz. Blitz pickup is bullets flying. I'm running it a few times so that we can see what it looks like against the blitz. I'm queuing it up for Saturday first play.
Man, fantastic stuff. I got a couple good comments in there. Um, it's going to be interesting. Let's move on to picking what we think is going to happen in this one. DMAC, OU goes in there with a little bit of momentum. They're riding high off a big win over Alabama. Not just taking care of business, but
Mm-hmm.
dominating. I think it cannot go unsaid, and this is something that we haven't talked a lot about on the show today. Is the offensive line has improved this year. The
No
offensive
way.
line
Nuh-uh,
has
Barry, they
taken
suck. They're
steps.
trash, Barry. They're terrible. What do you mean? Everyone thinks they're trash. I want to get on the sheep parade and say they suck because everyone else says they suck. My bad. Keep
Yeah,
going.
man.
I'm sorry.
Nah, they have. I don't care what people say. They have taken steps. Howland has improved. They have found some guys in Ozeta. Getting Everett back and healthy has been just that might be the most important thing that's happened because if you go back and watch those early games, Hickman and oh my gosh, the other guy who I forget his name now was out there. They just got whipped far too much, man. And if you're getting whipped at the center position, it's hard to run anything, right?
Yep.
Because that's the straight line pressure into your face. If you don't, that is the closest distance to cover on the play. If you're getting whipped there, you're influencing everything else that is about to happen. It's a domino effect and you're in trouble. And then couple that with having issues off the edge, and you have the South Carolina game, you got the Tennessee game, you got games where OU probably could have held serve and done better. But man, not having a guy like Everett, who is just a big bodied, you said it, he looks different than the other centers on the team. He looks more like a traditional Oklahoma center in terms of size, his durability, just the way he's built. He packs a punch. But in this one, man, it'll be interesting to watch. OU has been way more precise when they've pulled guard and pulled tackle out in their blocking. One of the things that we've noticed and highlighted is guys are actually getting home on those blocks. Far too often early in the year, that was either slow feet or the feet were there, but they just whiffed and they missed the guy, or the guy has already read, or the running back has not timed it up well. One of the things with X-Rob that he does, and Herb Street highlighted it on the broadcast, was one of the things X-Rob does, DMAC, is he will hug to that blocker until the very last second, and then he will take that ball where he needs to go. On the opening explosive play that he had, eyes were up. He sees the guy who actually does the block that helps spring him on that play is 10, is
Bauer
Bauer
Sharp.
Sharp. He's leading up into the hole, and he is hugging Sharp's backside until he can't anymore. And then he creates that angle, and now he's out the gate, right? He uses Bauer, who's blocking one guy, but because of the way X Rob attacks the play, he's really blocking two guys because of the way he pushes, he presses the hole, and the way he uses his blocker and angles to his advantage. And that's what good running backs do, right? They feel that they know that they have the ability to manipulate guys on the field, not just the first guy in front of them, but the other guy. So just had a quick little question from Daniel Graham, DMAC. We'll go back to the defensive side of the ball just real quick before we get out of here. And I think this will be a good close. Let's talk OU defending intermediate and deep routes. If our front seven wreck shop on almost every play, um, don't wreck shop on almost every play, do we get torched? Talk a little bit about what goes in to OU, as you did mention, defending some of those intermediate routes and what that's going to look like for the safeties,
Yep.
right? What that does look like for the front seven, and them having to also have a successful game.
Yeah, Daniel, we actually were literally just talking about that. You're absolutely right. Your concerns and suspicions are in alignment with what we feel the exact same way. If we can't stop those deep in cuts and those 1v1 on the outside plays where the quarterback has time to progress and get to them, or the timing routes, the speed out, the curl out, again, like some of those sail routes, we're in trouble. And to your point, again, go back and listen. We literally had touched on that. I saw when you jumped on. But if our front seven can't get to it, and if we stay very vanilla in just a basic four down with a 0 and a 3, and we put our backers in just in a basic 42 where we got 2 in the box and an overhang, I think we're in trouble if Ford and RMT don't get home. But what I think we'll do is be more dynamic, and I think we'll have 2 stand-up ends, and I think we'll line backers up in the A gap, and I think we'll show pressure and disguise some of that stuff. The good thing is, you watch guys like Stone. Stone's a guy who's much better on passing downs than he is on running downs. By the way, that's why you don't see him rotate in on early downs a lot. It's because
Mhm.
he's trying to go get the bacon, which is good. You make way more
Yeah,
money putting pressure on quarterbacks than you do being run stoppers, especially when you're built like him. Stone's built
yeah.
like a Tommy Harris type guy. He's an explosive dude. He's not a plugger, right? And
A
so
Terry or a
uh,
Dominic or a
and
guy like
Terry's
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Terry's a great example. Terry's a great plugger, and I think he's been a very the defense has had a lot of benefit to a guy coming from Tennessee and being a support there. But back to the question, we've got to be dynamic. We've got to be multiple. We've got to confuse them pre-snap. If Nudemeyer or Nessemeyer, whatever his name is, he's a guy who's been around the block long enough to know if he's very clear and aware of what we are pre-snap. He's gonna know where the window's gonna be, and
Yeah.
that's gonna create potential issues for us. And so we've got to be dynamic and multiple. We hadn't touched on the safeties. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we have played with our safeties at feet at 12, playing forward a lot more than we did earlier in the year, meaning more of a cover 4 type defense. Guys, a cover 4 defense keeps your safeties closer to the action. Safeties aren't bailing out, corners bail. Right. So if anything deep, corners stay on top of it. Safeties don't let people run by them, but safeties can hug and rob and do more in the action of the play, and they can run the alley. They can banana. They can do that C gap banana and stay inside out on stuff. And we've been doing a lot more of that. And guys, that's a more dynamic defense. It's where you have more trust in your corners and trust in your safeties. And I think that we've kind of come to an understanding of who our starting corners are with Eli, and then Malone's been pretty stable. And then obviously 19 is getting in there, Jacoby, and making a name for himself. If Kanai is your fourth corner, you're in good shape.
Yeah.
Like that,
Yeah.
that's a
I
good
think
fourth
we've said
corner to
that.
have.
Yeah.
If he's your guy getting 50% of the reps, that might be an issue because he's in his head a lot. But if he's your fourth dude and he can play
Mhm.
two possessions a half or 2 or 3 possessions total a game and
Yeah.
say, hey,
Or
dude, on
goal
this
line. He's
possession,
pretty good on the goal
you
line.
know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Yeah, he's that's quality depth to have on any team. He's a guy who's quality depth for
Yep.
anybody. Um, but Eli, I think, is a stabilizer. You've got a kid who is going to be where he needs to be. He's going to tackle when the play is there. Unless you throw a perfect ball, he's going to be right in that hip
Yeah.
pocket. Guys, that makes it a lot more easier to call coverage. It makes it a lot easier to say, hey Peyton, hey RSJ, hey Billy, stay closer, or don't just bail out of there, right? Your job is just not to give up a touchdown. Your job is to be a value add to the confusion on defense. We're going to have to. We're going to have to take some chances. And BV said it going into Bama. We're going to put our DBs on more islands in this game than we've done all year because they needed to stop Milrow. And I think for different reasons, we're going to need our safeties to be involved in that intermediate second level stuff, those in cuts, those sail routes, right? Those spill and corners, because that's where LSU is going to eat you up. And it's going to help
Yeah.
with Caden on the edges. If Caden gets to the edge, he's dynamic and he can make a lot of stuff happen.
Man, DMAC, I can't remember. I think I saw Eli talking about it. It might have been him, but the nuance guys of his interception. I think it was him who was talking about it. one of the things he noticed pre-snap, D-Mac, is that the two inside receivers, the one who was up and then the one behind, did not look at the quarterback pre-snap. Only Williams did. They identified the guys they were going to block. And then he read Williams' eyes. As soon as Williams turned, he triggers and beats the blood. That's what you've talked about, high IQ football stuff as a
I love it.
freshman, to notice those kind of subtleties, right? And that's what you talked about with some of the guys playing at receiver, the small details of the game. And something is like, right? If they were all running routes, maybe all three of them are looking back to see and check, and just to notice something like that, and notice that guys were just eyeing up to see who they got. And then they totally whiff because Eli triggers so fast because he expects it. He knows it's
I love it.
coming, and he was there before the ball got there. So give me a pick for this one, D-Mac. What you got? By the way, guys, I think the over/under is 47 and LSU -6. So what are you doing, D-Mac?
I don't pick L's. You know that. Oh, by the way,
Yep,
I
yep.
was I was gonna pick Bama. I was gonna pick Bama. I was definitely gonna pick Bama. Oh man, a road game. We went to Auburn and found a way to win. I think what you spoke to is extremely important, and it's gonna tell us a lot about Jackson. Let me just say this before I get just acutely to the score, or specifically to the score. Um, we're gonna learn a lot about Jackson. This is now
Yeah,
he's the big man on campus again. And of course, to me, I'm just like, dude, you didn't even throw for 100 yards. But he won a game that's probably BV's biggest win in his entire tenure here at home,
yeah,
under the lights, all the recruits into the season. There's a lot of things that really catapult that piece. We're gonna see if he's a guy who I think he still transfers. And I think it's in his best interest to transfer. I think it's in our best interest he transfers today. Tomorrow will tell me more. It's another data point. But what we've seen over the course of this year and the lack in terms of execution and production in terms of quarterback expectations passing the football, um, and the unknown at OC, and then the unknown of BV's long term, right, exploits and what's happening for his family. If someone else is offering me 1 million to go there, whatever the going rate is, versus the million, like, we just got to think about the economics for
yeah,
him to be the number one dual threat quarterback, elite 11 MVP at a school at a year where OU was down. Someone's going to sell him on that it was everyone's fault but their sons, and they could be right. And so now
yeah.
beat Alabama at home, and then beat LSU in Death Valley, and then, you know, man, how dope would that be? If first play of the game they ran action and ran levels.
Buddy, people on this pod gonna be watching that now. That
Man,
would
wouldn't
be
that be awesome?
wonderful.
I think they run it at least once though. I think they're gonna run
Yeah,
they're gonna put the safety in a bind and say, hey, you're gonna take the under, or you're gonna take the skinny post. But he finds a way to win this game, and he is an integral part. It's not the defense with a pick six and four turnovers or whatever, and it's not just X Rob running for 3 touchdowns, but Jackson also throws some strikes. It's a program shift. These 2 weeks set up really well for us to be a paradigm shift for the program. And here's the thing, right? We'd
yeah,
always have these happen, and he'd be like, but it wasn't the SEC. We'd have these happen and be like, oh, but it was against KU and Baylor. If we do it against Bama and against LSU, there isn't a higher level. They can't say nothing. There's nothing people can say. I'm in this SEC
yeah,
alumni group, and I already say,
yeah,
shut up. We're Alabama State champs, bro. Like, everybody in the SEC can talk smack except anybody from Alabama. We smoked your
yeah,
state. Guess what?
yeah.
Guess what? Guess what? You ready? We beat LSU. We just beat the two best teams in Louisiana. We are also the Louisiana state champs. Tulane and
Shoot.
LSU. Tulane's top 25, baby.
Louisiana taking care of the
Oh,
South, baby.
oh, bro, you don't
The
think
South will
listen,
not rise
I
again.
Barry, I'm that guy. I am that guy.
Jeez.
I am him. I am gonna be
Oh,
him.
that's wonderful,
Anyway, score.
man.
I think we win by 3. They miss a late field goal. They have crocodile tears. Um, no pun intended, as we go off into the sunset, winning another game. This is you hush your mouths, those of you guys that are realists. Okay, let me be an idealist today. We win by 3. They missed the field goal. OU is back on the upswing. The national pundits start saying our names in terms of teams to be on the watch out next year. If that happens, I expect Jackson's 50-50. I think there's a 50% chance Jackson stays. And you ready? I'm going the 10th degree here. I'm going 10th degree. If I'm going to do it, I got to go 10th
Okay,
degree.
let's go,
We play USC in the bowl game. Come on, man.
buddy.
You couldn't
If you get
write
the
that better.
trifecta of Alabama win, LSU win, and it does look, if OU does win out. I mean, they're going to a bowl game no matter what, but if they win out, it does look like that USC matchup is very possible. And boy, you
Man.
talk about OU having some guys on that squad who would be up for the
Oh,
challenge. I can tell you
Danny,
right now,
bro.
Danny,
Danny.
Woody, and then I know
No, no,
we've
no, no,
talked
no.
about Woody, but
Billy,
Woody would
Billy.
be
Don't say Woody.
Billy,
Don't say they're gonna
Billy
pick on
too.
Woody. They're gonna pick
Oh my gosh.
they're gonna
Yeah,
pick on Woody.
I just know
Woody
some
could
things on that one. But
Billy
Billy
for
is
sure.
Billy would be ready to go, man. That would be wonderful, wonderful
Nick might
to
even come
see.
out of retirement. Nick Anderson might come out of retirement for that one.
Oh my gosh, just to get a oh buddy, man, that would be big. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think OU is going to be challenged with the game plan, right? LSU is going to really make them work hard to run the ball. But that being said, OU has shown, even as you said, in the game against Alabama, Alabama eventually adjusted and still could not stop the run game when it counted. And some of the throws that I will say that Jackson did make were timely. And one of the reasons he didn't throw more was they never put themselves in a position to have to. It was always second and third and short. So
Good coaching.
you get in this one, and if you have a game plan like that, and that is also the type of game plan that just simmers the crowd, it keeps them bored, right? It makes the game drudge along, and it's death by a thousand cuts. But it seems like a lot more teams deploy that now as a strategy to win. It's why scoring is down. There's a lot of reasons for that, but it's why scoring is down across college football. But OU showed that they can get it done. I'm going to go, I think it'll probably be about the same vein. I'm going to go OU 24-20. I'll go 24-20, right? I
Okay.
think it's probably going to be close. I do think that LSU, just by being at home, right? I think if Alabama's at home, they probably have a few more explosives on offense. LSU maybe has a couple more plays that go their way offensively just because they have the crowd around them. But OU goes and gets it done. And Farouk is another one.
Yeah, yeah,
Forgot
yeah,
about
yeah, for
Farouk.
sure. For sure.
Farouk is another one. But it'll be an interesting game no matter what. I think the final game of the year, if Venables can, he's already, and this is, we didn't talk about this on the show. The AD and president, Harris and Castiglione have already come out and said they're behind Venables and support him right now. Now, obviously, things can always change. It's college football. It's day to day, week to week, month to month kind of deal. But there's a lot of things within the inner workings of the program that Venables had to improve, that he has improved, that I think a lot of people have taken notice. Just the infrastructure where the program needed to be in terms of updating what they're doing for the players. NIL has absolutely improved, since he's been there, and it's closer to where it needs to be for them to have success. But if Venables wins this game and then they go out and win a bowl game, and we'll be talking a bunch leading up to that, then now you've got some serious momentum behind next year. And
100%.
if OU can go get an OC that is capable of flipping the offense around, similar to a Miami, or getting a team like Oregon, who wasn't bad on offense, but they've had an uptick this year offensively, just because of skill positions. Dylan Gabriel's doing what they need him to do. It's a version that has them with no losses, right? So that's got to be pretty good. But yeah, give me OU 24-20. We'll see how that all kind of adds up in the end and how it goes. But I think OU does go down, get the win, and carries momentum into bowl season. Recruiting, extra practices, all the good things that are necessary to have a good next season. But before we get out of here, I want to remind everybody, go over to OU Insider, ouinsider.com. Get yourself a membership. If you want to know all the ins and outs, check out DMAC's 10 Thoughts. Check out my Zooming In feature where I talk about the Eli Bowen plays, some X-Rob plays, Jaden Jackson. That center on some plays, DMAC might as well have not even existed. Right, there's a play where Jaden just plants his feet in the ground. It's one of the early runs by Milrow. And that center is trying his hardest. And with one hand, Jackson is just keeping that guy at bay. It's some of the wildest stuff. He is turning into a real stud. But DMAC, as always, closing thoughts before we get out of here, and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah, man. Remember when I used to say his name wrong? What was his name? What was I calling him in fall camp? When you remember, I was calling the guy.
Jaren Jackson, the Memphis Grizzly,
Hey,
the
name not
aforementioned Grizz.
name notwithstanding, boy's a dog. But guys, some of you guys jumped on here late. You guys see the hat I'm wearing. Joshua, obviously, if you know, you know. I invested into the company. I love what it stands for, what it means, obviously, all that good stuff. So you'll see me rocking that. Maybe I'll post the website or something up here shortly. They got stuff, and the brand's been out. I love
Yeah.
the brand. Ended up finding out the owner is a family member of mine, and he was asking for some help with marketing and stuff. And that's kind of my background, right? So I work in
Sure.
that space, and so we created a partnership. So I'm excited about that. Somebody said, "Listen, if X Rob don't get 80% of the snaps, oh my God." If they do some BS Barnes, this and that, and they start bringing up
Oh,
Maine,
man.
100 yards against Bama under the lights is it's that's
Can't
kind of
argue.
legit. Yeah, so we'll see that is a variable that we didn't address. That'll be interesting to see. I expect Jackson to play with confidence. Again, I think this is a very big game for him. The kid can win back-to-back games against Bama and LSU. I think that really sets the record straight on what his potential could be with some normalcy, some stability, and of course, guys who are currently injured coming back going into next season. And then I also think this is another opportunity for our defense to let it be known that they are a championship caliber unit. And so seeing those guys 2 weeks in a row, two dynamic offenses. Guys, Alabama's offense has been dynamic between the quarterback, obviously some of those receivers, and some of the schemes that they've been drawing up with Daboer. And so seeing if we can do that again with an LSU team that has a ton of dudes that are going to play on Sunday in the next couple of years, it'll say a lot. I look forward to the game. I look forward to a post game pod with you, brother. I appreciate all of you
Yeah, man.
guys who listen to us talk smack and me tell my OG geezer stories. And it's just been a blast. It's always fun. The season's winding down. However, interlocked OU, baby. That's what it is. That's what it's always gonna be. And until I'm sooner dead, that's how we moving. And for everybody that's on here today, everybody pour out a little liquor for OSU. Go ahead and so somebody I guess I was in my 20s when he said it, but I'm 40.
Oh, my gosh.
I am now 40, and I think I'm over the hill. And so if that means and resonates to anybody in terms of I don't think Gundy's gonna outlive this one, man. They got lambasted. They
Yeah,
got
busted.
Barry Switzered, half or hundred on them boys. A goose egg. They by the way, they tried to score until the last second. They were doing their very
Man.
best to get into the end zone and couldn't. Let me not make fun of my little brother. That's not fun. Um, let's come let's come out tomorrow prepared. First quarter is
Yeah,
going to tell us a ton about what we look like. By the way, a bunch of people posted it. They're going to be white, purple, white, which I think is a nice uniform for them. White hat, purple
yeah,
uni, white pants with the L on the
it's a good
pants. It
look.
looks really good. It's a good look. So I think we'll be in our all whites tomorrow. Um,
Yeah,
Man, let's go wrap the season up the right way. For you guys, looking forward to seeing you guys on tomorrow evening, sometime after the game, and we'll be talking about what we saw there live, and hopefully we'll be talking about setting up another grudge match with USC. How fitting would that be? That would
oh,
just be so
poetic,
fitting.
man.
Let's get
Especially
Link
first year of
fired.
the SEC.
Oh,
Oh, buddy. Oh, yeah,
finish
yeah. That
finish 8-5. Who
eight and
said that?
five,
Oh yeah.
Sooner
Eight,
Cowboys.
finish 8 and
Long
5. I
time
wear
listener.
my $1,000 bet. Remember my $1,000 bet in August? The over under was 7.5. You remember
Oh,
that?
7.5. That would be, ooh, they're going
We
to be
win these.
right
I know.
on it.
I know. We win 2 games. I might win my $1,000 back. If not, it was all good. It was a good investment. But anyway, that's it for
There
me,
you
guys.
go.
Thanks for the hat. I think it's a dope hat. I'm looking forward to rocking that. Some of the stuff. The brand is called Kept by God. The website is
Cool.
keptgod.com. If you want to look it up, please check it out. It's the quality of the material is amazing. I didn't get it because of the
Mhm.
concept. The concept's dope. I mean, I'm born and raised in the word, but the product quality and the
Yeah,
price point, it's ridiculous. So
for sure.
anyway, yeah, salute to that. Salute to you guys. Barry, that's it for me. Anything for you, brother?
Nah, man. Hey, guys, go follow us on X, on Instagram at BWise Fitness, at BWISE Fitness, where you'll find me. Follow D Mac at Dame That Dude, and on X at D_Mac13, and follow the Barry and Mac Show at Barry and Mac SHW, and go get your OU Insider membership. Brandon Parker and the guys do a wonderful job. They are the best around. They upped the production value, upped our exposure. They took this show to another clip up, and we're still trying to grind and get to the top. So it's always fun. Want to thank everybody for hopping on today. Make sure to like, subscribe, and go share this sucker, and we will see you soon.